Carlos was a talented ventriloquist, but his career was on the decline. One day, he found an old puppet in an antique shop. The shop owner, a mysterious old man, warned Carlos that the puppet, named Emiliano, had a dark history and was known to cause tragedies. Ignoring the warning, Carlos bought the puppet, charmed by its handcrafted appearance and potential to revitalize his act. Carlos began practicing with Emiliano and quickly noticed that the puppet seemed to have a life of its own. Carlos's performances became an instant success, and he was acclaimed by critics. However, Carlos began having terrible nightmares and often woke up to find Emiliano in different positions than where he had left him. During one of his performances, Carlos heard whispers coming from the puppet. Emiliano began speaking independently, revealing dark secrets about Carlos's past and the people around him. The audience was mesmerized, but Carlos was terrified. He discovered that Emiliano was possessed by the spirit of a vengeful ventriloquist who had tragically died in the same theater where Carlos now performed. Desperate to get rid of Emiliano, Carlos sought out the old antique shop owner. The man revealed that the only way to break the curse was to perform an ancient ritual that required the sacrifice of something precious. Carlos hesitated, but after seeing the puppet cause more suffering to his loved ones, he decided to go through with the ritual. On the night of the ritual, the theater was empty. With a heavy heart, Carlos sacrificed his career by burning all his other puppets and destroying the stage where he performed. When Emiliano was finally destroyed, the vengeful spirit was released, and Carlos felt a wave of peace. Carlos never performed again, but he lived a peaceful life, far from the theater's shadows. Emiliano was forgotten, but the legend of its malevolent power lived on among ventriloquists. Marcos inherited a mansion from his great-uncle, a famous ventriloquist named Hector. The mansion, known as the House of Ventriloquists, was filled with puppets and memories of Hector's glorious past. While exploring the house, Marcos found a diary detailing Hector's obsession with creating the perfect puppet that could truly speak. Among the many puppets, one stood out, a beautiful wooden puppet named Clara. In the diary, Hector mentioned Clara as his masterpiece, infused with a life essence through an ancient ritual. Fascinated, Marcos began practicing ventriloquism with Clara, and soon realized that the puppet responded independently, as if it had its own soul. Marcos discovered that Hector had made a pact with a malevolent spirit to bring Clara to life. The spirit demanded souls in return, and Hector, obsessed with his creation, sacrificed several innocent people. Marcos began experiencing supernatural events in the mansion, doors closing on their own, whispers in the night, and Clara moving without his intervention. Marcos decided to destroy Clara, but the puppet revealed its true power, controlling objects and even attempting to possess him. In a desperate struggle, Marcos found a spell in Hector's diary that could seal the spirit back into the puppet. With great effort and facing his own doubts and fears, Marcos performed the spell. The spirit was sealed, and Clara became inert. Marcos burned the diary and the remaining puppets, and the mansion was abandoned. He left the city, bearing the scars of the confrontation, but finally free from the terror of the House of Ventriloquists. The mansion remained empty for years, but the legend of Hector and his living puppet continued to haunt the memories of the locals, a dark warning about the dangers of playing with forces beyond human understanding. Anna and her film crew traveled to a remote swamp to document local urban legends. They heard of an old ventriloquist named Salvador, who supposedly lived in the swamp and used his puppets to guard a hidden treasure. Determined to uncover the mystery, the group set up camp near an abandoned cabin rumored to have belonged to Salvador. While exploring the cabin, Anna found several puppets in disrepair, but one, named Isabella, appeared to be in perfect condition. That night, strange events began to occur. Footsteps, children's laughter, and fleeting visions of a shadowy figure among the trees. Anna felt a disturbing connection with Isabella, as if the puppet was trying to communicate. Anna discovered a hidden diary in the cabin, written by Salvador. He described how he made a pact with the swamp spirits to protect his treasure. In return, he was to capture souls for the spirits, and his puppets became instruments of capture. As Anna read, her crew members began to mysteriously disappear, drawn into the swamp by unseen forces. Desperate, Anna tried to destroy Isabella, but the puppet revealed a dark power, controlling the swamp's elements to defend itself. Anna then realized that the treasure was actually a portal to the spirit world, and Salvador had sealed his own soul within Isabella to gain immortality. With the help of the few remaining crew members, Anna performed an exorcism ritual described in the diary to free the captured souls and seal the portal. The ritual required a final sacrifice. Someone had to bond with the portal to seal it permanently. Feeling responsible for awakening the evil, Anna volunteered. She sealed the portal, freeing the souls and destroying the puppets. Her crew escaped, but Anna remained trapped in the swamp, her soul now the guardian of the portal. The footage was recovered and became a successful documentary, but the crew never revealed the full truth about Anna's fate. The swamp, now avoided by locals, kept its dark secret, with the legend of Salvador and his puppets haunting those who dared to venture near. Ricardo was a young ventriloquist who wanted to follow in the footsteps of his grandfather, Bernardo, a famous artist who tragically died in a mysterious fire at his theater. While cleaning the attic of his family home, Ricardo found a puppet named Tobias, which had belonged to Bernardo. Determined to restore his grandfather's legacy, Ricardo began practicing with Tobias, believing the puppet would bring him good fortune. As Ricardo practiced, he started hearing strange whispers and laughter. At night, disturbing dreams haunted him, showing visions of the fire that killed his grandfather. Tobias, the puppet, seemed to come to life, moving on its own and speaking in a low voice. Ricardo discovered that his grandfather had made a pact with an evil spirit to achieve success, but had failed to fulfill his part of the deal, leading to the fire. Over time, Ricardo began losing control of his actions during performances, feeling as though Tobias was taking over. He researched more about Bernardo's past and found out that the evil spirit was still trapped in the puppet, waiting for a new opportunity to seek revenge and complete the interrupted pact. Ricardo tried to destroy Tobias, but the puppet resisted with supernatural strength. He sought help from a medium, who advised him to perform an exorcism ritual at the theater where the fire had occurred. During the ritual, the evil spirit manifested, attempting to possess Ricardo. In a desperate struggle, Ricardo managed to burn Tobias, freeing the spirit and ending the curse that had plagued his family. Although Ricardo succeeded in getting rid of Tobias, he was left with deep psychological scars. He abandoned ventriloquism and dedicated himself to telling the story of his grandfather and the vengeful spirit, warning other artists about the dangers of pursuing success at any cost. The theater where the fire occurred was finally demolished, and the evil spirit was forgotten. However, the story of Ricardo and Tobias continued to be told as an urban legend, a warning about the dangers of unchecked ambition. Helena, a documentarian passionate about supernatural stories, decided to investigate a legend about living puppets that inhabited an isolated forest. Along with her crew, she ventured into the forest, guided by old tales from villagers who swore they had seen the puppets walking among the trees. In the heart of the forest, the team found a small cabin that seemed to have been abandoned for years. Inside, puppets were hanging from the ceiling, all with eerily realistic expressions. Helena found a diary belonging to a ventriloquist named Victor, who had lived in the cabin and used the forest to test his creations. The diary spoke of a ritual that Victor had performed to bring his puppets to life. During the night, Helena and her crew began to hear footsteps and distant laughter. The puppets in the cabin had disappeared from their places. While exploring the forest, the team found the puppets moving on their own, lurking among the trees. Helena discovered that Victor had used an ancient ritual involving human sacrifices to infuse life into his creations. Helena and her team realized that the forest was filled with puppets, all possessed by the spirits of Victor's victims. The puppets tried to lure the team back to the cabin where Victor had sealed the ritual with his own life. Helena decided to burn the cabin, believing it would free the spirits from the puppets. As the cabin burned, the puppets attacked, trying to prevent the destruction of the place that kept them alive. The team fought to escape, and Helena managed to destroy Victor's diary in the fire, ending the ritual and freeing the spirits. The puppets fell to the ground, lifeless, and the forest fell silent. Helena returned to civilization with an incomplete documentary, but a story she would never forget. The forest and its puppets became a place of legend, avoided by all who knew the story of Victor and his malevolent creations. A traveling circus arrived in a small town, bringing with it a ventriloquist named Paul and his puppet, Antonia. Paul was known for his eerily realistic performances, where it seemed as though Antonia had a life of her own. The townspeople were fascinated, but soon realized that something was very wrong with the show. Miguel, a young local reporter, decided to investigate Paul's past after hearing rumors of mysterious disappearances in the towns where the circus had passed. He discovered that Paul had made a pact with a demonic entity to bring his daughter, Antonia, back to life after a tragic accident. Antonia's soul was trapped in the puppet, and the pact required regular sacrifices to maintain the illusion. Miguel found evidence that Paul was planning to perform a large sacrifice during the next show to increase the demonic entity's power. He tried to warn the authorities, but no one believed him. Desperate, Miguel decided to act alone to prevent the sacrifice. On the night of the big performance, Miguel infiltrated the circus and found the altar prepared for the ritual. During the show, he confronted Paul on stage, revealing the truth about the puppet Antonia to the audience. Paul, desperate to complete the ritual, attacked Miguel, but the puppet Antonia began to move independently, revealing her true nature. The puppet, possessed by the demonic entity, attacked both Paulo and Miguel. In a desperate fight, Miguel managed to destroy the altar and the puppet, ending the pact and freeing Antonia's soul. Paul, devastated, was taken away by the authorities as the circus collapsed around him. Miguel was hailed as a hero, but was haunted by the terrible experiences he had endured. He wrote a revealing article about the ventriloquist circus, warning the world about the dangers of making pacts with supernatural forces. The puppet, Antonia, was destroyed, but the legend of the malevolent circus continued to haunt the memories of those who witnessed the events.